The Hulk has been dragged to hell. What happens to his body? Welcome to the Comicstorian channel, where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today we're going to be finally continuing the Immortal Hulk storyline, starting with issue 40, going to issue 42. I'll give you a link down below to everything that came up before, all 40 issues, but just to get you caught up really quickly, the Hulk has multiple personalities. We have Bruce Banner, Joe Fixit, Child Hulk, Devil Hulk, and they just got into a fight with the leader who basically killed Devil Hulk and pulled Bruce Banner literally to hell. The personality of Bruce Banner is now sitting in hell, leaving Joe Fixit and Child Hulk in control of the body. Before dying, Devil Hulk took over a government facility known as Shadow Base, where a lot of his friends are located right now. And Hulk and Joe Fixit are currently in space in the Alpha Flight space station as everyone is trying to figure out what happened. Because Hulk freaked out on a bunch of civilians, but it really wasn't the Hulk. Leader was in control of his brain and then dragged Bruce Banner straight to hell. So let's pick up with the inevitable finale of Immortal Hulk by going from issue 40 to 42. And if you like this, please consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and checking out our Patreon, as it's how we fund these channels. Thank you so much, and let's get into Hulk issue 40. As Puck stirs his coffee in the recreational room aboard the Alpha Flight space station, he says, well, the Hulk woke up. But he seems different, eh? Diminished. Like the battle took something vital out of him. And of course, he's reacting like a child, because that's what he is. He doesn't even understand that he blew up a town. Jackie says that she isn't fully convinced that the Hulk blew up Georgeville. When Rick Jones attacked Titania and her, he was smiling, talking to himself, body like a pretzel, and he was giving this smug little speech. They've all seen the news footage. Hulk gets mad for a second, a scary second. Then it passes and along comes Rick. But then a voice tells her not quite. It wasn't Rick, it was the leader. A genius gamma mutant with the power to control minds and inhabit bodies. And he suspects that that is somehow connected to, well, the whole situation. Puck looks over. Walter? Dear God, is that you? The Sasquatch steps in, telling him, again, not quite. It's Leonard in here. Leonard Samson. But perhaps you can call me Doc Sasquatch. Over in the holding facility, Hulk hangs suspended in restraints as a man with sunglasses walks up, stating that he wonders if they remember him. Maybe. His name is Henry Peter Gyrich, acting commander of the Alpha Flight Interstellar Defense and Diplomacy Initiative, including Gamma Flight. Hulk looks up. Big words. Hulk not understand. Henry says that he'll make it simple then. He is the government, which means that he decides what happens next. Meanwhile, over in Bruce's mindscape, Joe Fixit lifts his glasses, asking, do you guys know this creep? Seems awfully familiar. Hulk says, Hulk not sure. Maybe other Hulk met. Puny Banner would know. Joe turns around yelling, well, Puny Banner ain't here. Puny Banner got dragged out of our head and down to hell by Sam Stearns of all people. How did Melonhead get that kind of power? And the worst part, or maybe the best, is that somehow Stearns is our dad? And of course, Salad Brain here was on Dad's fight when things went down. Hulk begins to cry, shouting, stop yelling! Stop yelling at the Hulk! But outside of the mindscape, Hulk begins to cry, and Henry asks, why is the Hulk crying? Tears won't help you now, monster. Go ahead, try shifting all you want. The manacles will adjust, keeping you there as long as we need you there. Inside, Joe asks, shift in size? This guy, he ain't kept up, has he? Hey, Hulk, you want to show him how we do things downtown? Outside, Hulk begins to cough as his stomach begins to balloon out. Henry asks what the hell is going on, and as Hulk's stomach pops, Joe Fixit crawls out telling him, you must not have been around for a while, have you, Gyrich? We made a few changes. One of the guards points a gun at Joe, and Joe tells them, you can get that thing right out of my face. You're standing a little close here. The guard yells, don't move, Banner! And Joe grabs the gun, bashing the stock into the man's face, telling him, I ain't Banner, and I told you that you were standing too close. Henry begins to run, but Joe chases him, telling him, decision time, Salad Brain. Do we want to go with smart or do we want to go with stretchy? A few moments later, Samson and the others begin to run down the hall towards the holding cells after hearing a noise, and Puck says that he isn't one to complain. "Why are you in Walt's body, Samson? We all knew you could come back, but never as someone else. And also, if you're in Walt's body, where is Walt?" Samson says that he never fully remembers the other side. But if he found Walt's green door this time, it means that he is somehow inaccessible. Walt is somewhere lost in the Hulk hell. The leader's involved. He was in Del Fry's body when Del killed him. He was Rick too, that he is certain. But they won't get a full picture of any of this until they talk to... hello, Bruce. What's with the gun? As Joe stands in the hallway, he tells them that he ain't Bruce. That's what. That's Samson in there? Samson tells him that that is Joe Fixit, everyone, one of Bruce's alters, though he's hairier than he used to be. But this is good. Joe's actually very reasonable these days, much more than he used to be. Joe tells him, sure, that's him all over. Reasonable. And then he opens fire on the window separating everyone from the vacuum of space. Joe is immediately sucked out, and Samson blocks the hole, keeping everyone in while the window is sealed. Creel yells that they gotta be kidding him. They're at a space station with guns that break windows? And outside in orbit, Joe begins to fall towards Earth, but to survive the landing, he changes back into the Hulk, crash landing in the Coney Island Channel. Hulk swims over and begins to climb out when a voice says, "Well, ain't this a revolting development?" Hulk looks up, "You!" And the voice tells him, "The folks told me you might be dropping in for a visit. The others, they wanted to grab you with a force field or a framostat. But I said no. Just keep the perimeter, I said. Make sure there's no rubberneckers to get hurt. And here they are, just the two of us. You owe me a rematch. Maybe even a whole dang honeymoon. But looking at you now, you might want to quit while you're ahead. Even if I don't talk like it, I'm a smart cookie. Because you know what time it is. Clobbering time!" Seconds later, Thing punches Hulk and Reed radios in asking if everything is okay. But Thing tells him, "Ain't nothing. Old J. Jaw's trying to make a break for it, that's all. Not much of a Hulk leap. Kept right on his tail. He ain't never been a..." Just then Hulk jumps forward punching. "Hulk smash Thing!" Thing steps back, rubbing his jaw, asking, "What gives? You switch out your breakfast cereal or something?" Not to name drop, but Spidey hits harder than that. Back when he was Franklin's age. Thing hits back with another punch of his own, and the Hulk crashes through one of the roller coasters, with Thing stating, "That ride was up for demolition, right?" Thing then walks back through the twisted metal asking, "Do you remember when you beat me into a coma on my honeymoon? Next to how you were back then, you look almost puny." Hulk begins to cry. Shut up! Shut up! Thing is the puny one! Thing was always puny next to Hulk! Hulk not weak! Hulk not! Thing smacks him down, telling him the thing about bullies. Always crying after they get a taste of their own medicine. Let's wipe them tears, buddy. Hulk reaches for a steel beam and cracks it on the side of Thing's head. And Thing tells him, "I take it all back. You can't even dish it out." But as Thing winds up for another hit, Hulk holds his arm up. "Stop! Stop hitting Hulk! Stop hurting Hulk!" Thing pauses. Are you really begging? Sheesh, maybe I ought to go easy. Only you didn't go easy on them folks in Iowa, did you? It's clobbering! But just as Thing swings, Hulk begins to change back into Joe, and before Thing can stop himself, he punches Joe so hard that Joe's body breaks. Thing runs over. "Oh God, Banner, I'm so sorry. I couldn't pull my punch enough." But Joe begins to yell, "He's a kid! He's a kid, you piece of crap! You're beating up on a kid!" The two stare at each other, and Thing says, "Well, Hulk hit me first. And you don't sound like Banner." Joe scoffs, telling him, "And I heard Reed was a genius. Must just be the astronaut school." Thing then reaches down, telling him that they ought to get him to a hospital, and Joe tells him no. No hospitals, no cops. "I got this. Come on, you big green." Joe begins to transform for a moment, but then as Hulk fades, Joe holds out his arms. "See? Good as new." Thing tells him, "Right. So you want to get a hot dog?" So later at one of the hot dog stands, Thing sets down a plate telling him big beef dog and all the extras, made with his own rocky hands. Joe takes the hot dog, telling him that until he gets his real self back, he might want to enjoy the finer things. Thing sits down asking, "Where is Banner then? Did you guys bump him off?" And Joe tells him, "Nah, we were getting along kinda. Acting like a system at least. Had to start working together. We were doing good at it right until the leader came along. Leader got in our head, took Banner and dragged him to hell. Maybe killed Devil Hulk, left this empty space inside of us. Can't say it any better than that. Some kind of supernatural gamma whammy, like what he did to us back in Iowa. Thing puts 2 and 2 together. So that was a frame-up? The Leader did it? Maybe if we go to the Fantastic Four together, we can... Joe holds up his hands. Nah, trust me, this ain't something they can help with. This isn't a battle of the brains. Also, I heard you died once. That true? Thing tells him, yeah. And Joe asks, did you go upstairs or downstairs? Thing tells him upstairs. And Joe takes a drink of his beer. Yeah, that ain't something that you can help with. Thing takes a sip of his coffee and tells him, you know, pretty soon after that, being dead, meeting the man upstairs, I started to go to temple again. I even had my own bar mitzvah. I did a speech about a passage from the Torah, from the story of Job. Satan, the accuser, takes everything from Job, his family, his home, even his body ain't his no more. All with God's permission to test Job's faith. Of course, it's Satan who asks for the test. Job's buddies figured that he deserved it. But in the face of that, Job demands answers. He wants to know why he was hurt, to speak to the man upstairs, so eventually the Almighty comes to him. Job doesn't get no answers. Just a glimpse at how much he didn't know of how vast God is. After that, I studied that passage, and at the time, I'd just gotten rich and acted like a real jerk about it. Guess I figured good things didn't happen to bad guys. So all I thought was, hey, things ain't so bad for me. At least I got a job, right? Maybe I should have been looking out for whoever was. Joe finishes his hot dog and asks, where is all this going? And Thing stops. That's a good question. I'll say you got away. The others will go along with it. Just don't make me regret it. If you decide you need our help, just call. Grab a shirt off the rack, will you, Hulk? Joe begins to laugh, telling him, you keep calling me Hulk. And Thing says, so? That's who you are, ain't it? Meanwhile, deep underground in the Shadow Base Site G, inside of the Translocation Lab, a gamma-radiated hand begins to push open the metal doors. And once the pathway is open, a disfigured Rick Jones calls out, and between both of his hands, he says, I'm free. Later aboard the Alpha Flight space station, Henry leans forward in his chair asking, I asked a question. The Hulk, public enemy number 1, the very creature the Gamma Flight Task Force was created to hunt and capture, and he escapes from right under our noses? He wasn't even the Hulk! He was armed with a pair of pants and one of our own guns. How exactly does that happen, Mr. Jude? Puck says, well, since you're our new boss, we thought we'd take the cue from you, eh? How's the jaw? Titania laughs and Henry grabs his phone, stating that he's glad that she finds this amusing. Where's your husband, by the way? Titania says that Carl isn't coming back until they get some stronger windows in the tub. And Henry says that he asks because he just sent a text to a certain legal team in their employ. Within the hour, there will again be a warrant for Carl Creel's arrest across all 50 states. Titania balls her fist, shouting, you son of a! He fought the Hulk for you! The Hulk! How could you do that? And Henry tells her, I already told you how. I sent a text. I was actually curious about that. You fell so easily into the law and order role. You never thought that your turn would come around again? Samson yells, that is enough. You've made your point. We all wish things had gone differently. And Henry asks, do you? We should have put one in your brain the second you came back to life. Or called an exorcist. Whatever the proper treatment is for body thieves. Where is your real body anyway? Samson tells him that it's rotting in Shadow Base G, sadly. And no, he doesn't know where it is. He was never told. He just trusted Bruce. Henry slams his fist on the desk. Bruce Banner, the public fugitive? That sounds like a choice, Dr. Samson. The wrong choice. Maybe I should keep you in the Hulk's old cell, huh? Drain the gamma right out of you. Maybe even take your pelt. Make a rug out of it. But as Henry goes on, Samson takes one of his nails and begins to scratch on the window. And Henry yells to the guards to shoot him, now. And the guard says that they think that that wouldn't be wise, sir. When Samson steps away, they see a frowning face carved into the glass. Back on Earth, Jackie walks up to her apartment with her work belongings, stating that she should have never seen this coming. The Herald's been a slow-motion train wreck since the new offices were destroyed. And how much of that was her fault? She was the one chasing the Hulk. She was the one who brought them all into his orbit. And as she fumbles with her keys, she feels like there's someone inside. She shakes off the feeling, and when she opens up the door, a voice asks, Jackie McGee? Jackie drops her things as she hears, it's Shadow Base. It's 14. It's Shadow Base. It's... Jackie grabs her pepper spray, and Charlene McGowan yells, hey, don't shoot. I didn't break in. I was translocated here. Jackie grabs her, telling her, forget that. Why are you here? Why did 14 send you? Charlene tells her, no, 14 is dead. You were there. You were trying to find people who can help. I've been looking for gamma mutates, like us. Back up in space, Henry says that this is a bluff. Intimidation tactics. It's basic, it's pathetic. And as Henry goes on, Samson scratches more into the glass, telling them, that's the thing. I've been dead and death is fine. It's being alive again afterwards. That's the surviving. All that surviving. And from my perspective, you'd be doing me a favor. Samson taps on the glass with his nail aggressively, and after a few moments of silence, Henry tells the guards to let them go. They should all be glad that he has higher priorities. Their turn will come. And once they all leave, Henry whispers to his men to call in the backup team. He'll address them personally. Once outside, Titania tells Samson that she has to admit. She never really liked him, but that was one hell of a bluff. Puck laughs, telling him that it was. He nearly convinced himself. And Samson quietly says, yeah, me too. Back on Earth, Charlene says that she brought with her a gamma reader. She carries it because she's worried about her own exposure. But she doesn't ping on the radar. They do, since Georgeville presumably. Jackie yells that is impossible. She was angry just now, but nothing happened. She didn't Hulk out and Charlene tells her that is not how it works. And Jackie shouts, asking, how does it work then? What's going on with you? I need to know. But as Jackie looks out the window, she sees her reflection with glowing green eyes. Charlene asks, Jackie, what are you staring at? And surrounding Charlene are several gamma-radiated creatures that only Jackie can see. Down below, in the hell of the Hulks, Leader looks at the tangled mess that is Bruce, asking, what are you looking at? Well, Bruce, any ideas? Bruce asks, Dad? And Leader yells, concentrate! Part of you is there. Your other parts, the alters, they're above, in the world. Gamma should be flowing between you, from here to there to here. Feedback loop ever increasing. A beautiful spire of gamma up in the sky, down to the lowest point, to the one below all. And you know what's really galling? Brian made it work, and I have done a much better job on you. Look what I've wrought from you, Bruce, from your twisted soul. Bruce begins to call out, Mother, please look at me. And the Leader sighs, stating, something's not there. Some vital connection in the circuit. I devoured Brian. I became him. So somewhere the answer is inside of me. What am I missing, Dr. Banner? A shade of Brian appears, telling him that it burrows in. It wears their souls like masks on a stage. Leader snaps back. Is this what you're going to show up for? At least make sense of it. Wait, what did you say? Brian smiles, telling him, a host personality. I tried to warn you. Leader says, broken link. It isn't between here and the living world, it's between Bruce and his alters. It's between him and that. The thing up there. Brian says they devoured him, they became him, but they weren't the first. They said it themselves, or wait, was it him? He is himself, but he's also that. As the giant hand of the one below all grabs the Leader shouts, stop it! Someone help! Bruce! But Bruce tells him that this really isn't the best time. As Leader reappears in hell, he sits up. Yes, of course, I was so blind, but now I see. The Hulk is the most dangerous gamma-radiated creature to exist. The Gamma Flight just walked out of their responsibility to catch him, but who needs them, right? A voice tells him, not them. Not for what he's paying. This amnesty that he mentioned, it's permanent, right? And Henry smiles, telling him that he can trust him. He's one of the good guys. Another voice asks, what about the rules of engagement? Looks like they've run into some Hulk huggers. Henry says, you want rules? For me? How should I put this? We're with the government now. The UFOs can do whatever they need to do. And there you have it, bringing you up to Immortal Hulk issue number 42. Now, the battle plan right now is to bring this out every week until it's over, because the story is finally going to be resolving with issue 50. So if you want more of this, please consider hitting that subscription button, hit that like button, and go check out our Patreon. And if you can't do any of that, please just go down below and leave a smiley face in the comments to help get this into the algorithm. You guys are awesome for your support, and I'll see you next time right here.